Welcome to Dr. Doodle's History. Today, we will be looking at the Declaration of Independence and getting you ready for the AP Gov exam. Our AP learning objective for this document is to explain how democratic ideals are reflected in the Declaration of Independence. Before we begin, let's provide some context. Just before the writing of the Declaration, fighting had already broken out at both Lexington and Concord and at Bunker Hill. But the majority of delegates at the Second Continental Congress still wanted to work out a mutual agreement with England. However, the King of England, King George III, and Parliament were not interested in negotiating. So, in June of 1776, the Continental Congress voted to write a Declaration of Independence, and that task fell to Jefferson. A balance between governmental power and individual rights has been a hallmark of American political development, and the Declaration of Independence provides a foundation upon which the principles of natural rights, the social contract, and popular sovereignty are built. Let's look at those principles now. The first principle we'll look at is natural rights. Before we discuss natural rights, it's important to briefly talk about John Locke. Locke was an English philosopher who wrote his famous Second Treatise of Government in 1689. Locke wrote this at the time of England's Glorious Revolution, which overthrew the rule of James II. Locke claimed that all individuals are born with certain inalienable natural rights. These are rights that are given to us by God and can never be taken away. Locke claimed that among these natural rights are life, liberty, and property. Jefferson was strongly influenced by Lockean theory when he wrote the Declaration. Now, let's look at natural rights in the Declaration. In the second section, Jefferson writes, "All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now, readers of Locke will notice that Jefferson changed the term property to the pursuit of happiness. But this wasn't radically changing Locke's meaning. In fact, he was expanding upon the principle that people were free to do whatever they want as long as they didn't violate the natural rights of another. Jefferson adopted Locke's theory of natural rights to provide proof that revolution was necessary to end England's tyranny over the colonists. The second principle we'll examine is the social contract. The social contract was most famously explained in Rousseau's book of the same name, but the American version is based on John Locke's variant of it. Locke believed that the purpose of government was to secure and protect the natural rights of its citizens. But citizens also had a part. They must obey the laws of their rulers. Thus, a contract exists between the rulers and the ruled. Locke believed this social contract would ensure a stable, comfortable enjoyment of their life, liberty, and property. When Jefferson writes, "To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men," he is referring to the social contract. The third and final principle we'll examine is popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty is government based on consent of the people and claims that the people are the source of governmental power and authority. The government has no authority if it ignores the will of the people. We see this when Jefferson writes, "deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Jefferson claimed that both the king and parliament had ignored the will of the American people and violated their natural rights with a long train of abuses over an extended period of time. Therefore, the people have the right to resist that government, alter or abolish it, and create a new political system. This is a radical 180 from the preceding period defined by absolutism and the divine right of kings theory. The Declaration is broken down into four parts: the preamble, the statement of human rights, the list of violations of natural rights and grievances against the king and parliament, and lastly, the statement of separation. In the preamble, Jefferson writes, "When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bands which have connected them with another." Here we clearly see the philosophical argument that British rule over the colonies was no longer legitimate. Remember, because the king had violated his end of the social contract, it was the duty of the citizens to dissolve their political bands with England. Next, we have the Statement of Human Rights. Here Jefferson writes the famous words, "All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The colonists believed that the king and parliament had violated their natural rights on numerous occasions. While the concept of natural rights was nothing new to the colonists, Jefferson stated that he wanted to place before mankind the common sense of the subject in terms so plain and firm as to command their assent. The third section contains a list of 30 violations of natural rights and grievances against the king and parliament, and announced the British actions had established an absolute tyranny over these states. Some of these charges included taxation without representation in parliament, placing standing armies in American communities, obstruction of the right to trial by jury, interference with the operation of colonial legislatures, and the cutting off of trade with the rest of the world. The final section is the Statement of Separation. Here Jefferson writes, "We solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states." The document ends with the resolution of independence, which officially declares that the colonies are separating from England and becoming an independent nation. It is followed by the signatures of the delegates of the Second Continental Congress. Now let's look at what you need to remember for the AP exam. First, you are required to read and understand the entire Declaration of Independence, including its main principles. If there's something you don't understand that is not explained in this video, please ask your teacher. Second, you must know that it is broken down into 4 sections, and you must know each of those sections. Lastly, you must understand that the Declaration is a statement of political philosophy and not a governing document. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Dr. Doodle's History to be notified when new videos are posted. Additionally, if you are a teacher looking for lesson plans, click the link below this video.